Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm Richard and this is Lap of the World. For those of you who have been following Liz and I on our NSXPO 2022 vlog journey, these scenes depicted at the beginning of today's video may look very familiar. For those who haven't been following along, Liz and I drove both of our NSXs out to Phoenix for the event. Unfortunately, after the first day at the track, coming off the track after the last session, we noted that the black car had picked up a very nasty sounding noise. After soliciting some expert ears in the form of John Vassos and Dave Levy, both of whom are very familiar with the NSX drivetrain and its potential issues, we did not get any real reassurance that it wasn't something bad, so discretion became the better part of valor, and we had the car flatbedded up to Science of Speed in Chandler, Arizona. They were very gracious to take the car in on such short notice, and that is kind of where we left it in the vlogs. Since then, of course, Science of Speed has had a chance to dig in, and Chris and the team have done a little bit more diagnosis, and I think at this point it's best is I'll just leave it to Chris and Jeff. I'll turn it over to them to deliver the news.
Hey Richard, Chris from Science of Speed. I'm here with Jeff. He's going to be doing the rebuild on your engine. Yes, I said rebuild. I'm sorry to give you bad news. I'm reading your NSXPO concourse form, and apparently you have the saddest NSX. It happens. You do have 314,000 miles on this car, apparently all original powertrain. That's pretty impressive. I'm also reading here that there's 8,000 track miles, 36 total tracks. Never rebuilt until probably now. Sad face. Sad face, yes. Sad face because there is bearing contamination in the oil. The rod knock that we're hearing is evidence that the bearings have failed, probably because of a oil supply issue. Suggested moving forward action is to rebuild or replace. We will follow up with details. Thank you.
So yeah, that's not very good news, and it's honestly pretty heavy at this point. But there are three questions I could think of that are probably on what's on most people's minds, and those are, how did it happen? What's next for the NSX? And what does this mean for the channel in the meantime? So let me answer those in order here, starting with how did this actually happen? Was this some neglect on my part? And trust me, I have been beating myself up about this and going through every mental checklist, because at this point it really sucks. It feels like I've hurt my friend or something, and and so I haven't been very easy on myself, but I don't know that I really had too much fault other than having too much fun at this point in time after having reviewed everything. So I have gone back nearly frame by frame and reviewed all of the footage. I have every lap that I turned at Podium Club I have on video, and at no point was there an over rev. At no point did the oil pressure light come on, and at no point, just again kind of remembering the feel of the car driving at the event, and then also corroborating that through sound in the video, there were no sudden changes in the car's attitude during those sessions. It was pulling cleanly to red line up until I took my foot off the gas to cool the car down at the end of the last session. And it did not display any of the noise, at least not the degree to which it made noise after the last session. It was not doing so at any point previously in the day. That said, having now listened back to all of those sessions in great detail, with the listening to them on a high quality mic that was in the car, unimpeded by a helmet or anything like that, I cannot rule out the possibility that it was a pre-existing condition that was then made worse by the extended use at the track in particularly hot conditions. That said, we have driven at way hotter tracks, both Thermal Club in 2018 and, Thermal Club in 2015 and Thunderhill in 2018 were both 100 plus degrees, sometimes 110 plus, I think, at least track temperature in Thermal, and I think 105 or 107 air temp at Thunderhill for those tracks. So we've driven at hotter tracks, and although we were driving Podium Club clockwise, which is kind of the dangerous direction for an NSX, and that you have several right-hand turns in which you kind of are in VTEC, and that's usually a bad combination, but none of them are the what I would call the kiss of death turn for a first-gen NSX, which would be a high G sustained right-hand corner where you're in VTEC for the whole turn. They don't have that there, so none of the turns that were there are that different from turns we've seen on other racetracks in the past. So as far as any smoking gun to what happened here, we will have to see once Chris and the team get further into tearing down the motor. What if maybe they find something that was a contributing factor that was unknown to us. The other thing to consider is that the car had 315,000 miles on an unopened bottom end and about 8,000 track miles since 200,000 miles. So there's a possibility, they measure the life of a race engine in hours, and we probably have a lot of hours on this engine at at attack speed. So it's possible it was just that time. All mechanical things have limitations. As robust as the NSX drivetrain is, we may have just found that limit. But that's where we're going to leave that. We kind of don't know right now. If we find out anything else in the future, we will definitely share that because I'm sure it would be of interest to anyone who is tracking their NSX and wants to avoid shenanigans. And we may, once we have the car back, whichever direction we end up going with it, we will likely do some things to try and further mitigate the possibility of a repeat performance. Which brings us to the second question is, what's next for the NSX? Well, we are working with Chris and his team out at Science of Speed. Again, have been very gracious hosts and even so far as like filming a video for me to deliver the bad news. We're working with them on some options, and I'm also talking to some other people in the community about various options we have as far as which direction we go with getting the car back up and running. In any case, the end of the story is the car will be back up and running at some point. It's just a matter of, what's sitting behind me pushing it forward. So, fear not, the car will be back. Specifically when and how is to be determined, but we will take you guys all along on that decision process and share updates as we have them. Which brings us then to the last question of what's next? What does that mean for the channel in the meantime? Well, it kind of calls our hand on having a backup car. We had been working on our 2004 Gallardo to get it ready to go to the track. It does mean that we're going to press it into service to do maybe one or two more events this year if we can make the scheduling work. So some normal service will resume, although it'll be some via a different vehicle in this case. That said, there will probably be some more NSX content as Liz starts to do things to her car. And then who knows, maybe our wayward Datsun will make an appearance, although I think I'm just going to start referring to that car, instead of calling it a Datsun, just calling it an NSX engine rebuild or NSX engine, a metaphorical vehicle to finance getting the other vehicle back on the road a little bit. Because I think any way we cut it, it's not going to be cheap. But that, I think, is where we are on this. So I wanted to just kind of make a quick update video to bring you guys up to speed on what's going on with that car, what the end of the story with that situation was at the event. Unfortunately, it's not good news, but again, I think I had this year planned out as being somewhat of a renewal year for the black car. Anyway, I had several projects queued up for the off season to address its cosmetic shortcomings. And now I guess we're going to be addressing a really fairly significant mechanical shortcoming while we're at it. If there was ever a time to start supporting the channel via your subscription, now would be a good one, and we would very much appreciate it. Also, prior to this incident, we were Liz and I were spinning up a Patreon, which will be live soon. You can look for that, and that is a platform on which we're not going to put too much behind a paywall there. But we do want to use that as a platform to have some more candid conversations, maybe do some supplemental live streams for the people that are supporting us, as well as, maybe a few other things that we'll stick over there that kind of hit the cutting room floor for the regular channel. So you have links to all that stuff down below. We would appreciate any kind of support you can give us. Again, no matter what, we're going to have the car back on the road. Your support may make that a little more comfortable or potentially hasten the process some. But as always, I think for a really bad issue, it couldn't have happened in any better of a way. This is the most convenient inconvenience I think I've ever had with a car problem. This was the first year that Liz and I had driven 2 cars out to Expo, and so I had to ride home. And then we were also within, roadside assistance covered towing distance to basically the best NSX shop in the US. So I don't know that we could have, if we were going to have a problem, this is the way to have a problem. If you're going to smoke an engine in your car, just do it within a short tow of the premier engine builder for your car. It's that easy, guys. Anyhow, we're going to stop it there before I get too rambly on this. Difficult video to make, but I appreciate you bearing with me through potentially some rambling there. And stay tuned for more. We will share updates as we have them. In the meantime, you can look forward to a number of things coming up, several track features that we filmed prior to the issue, as well as some other, as we get into the decision process for the black car, we're going to share some interesting, I think some interesting content with you along those lines as well. That actually, the ball started rolling on that before the car was even on the flatbed. So, thanks everybody for watching. We really appreciate your viewership and support. The NSX community has been awesome at the event and thereafter with support. Offering of hard to find parts in case we need them for the for whatever it is we decide to do with the car. It just can't speak highly enough of the community there. And so Liz and I both appreciate all of it. And just bear with us here for a minute as we get this figured out, and that NSX will be back up and running, hopefully, in what feels like no time. But until that happens, again, I'm Richard, this is Lap of the World, and we will see you in the next video, if not at the track.